there's not much I can do about the background noise at this point. Remember, they changed my voice. This is page 3 of my book. Every page is a chapter, except for on page 4, the last page, it spills over into another page, just a few sentences into the other page or so. Okay. You know them by their fruit. This is key here. People do not explore this anywhere near enough, and they use their cultural scale, their racial scale, their national scale, their family scale, social norm scale, corporate scale, greedy gold digging scale, petty social status scale. They don't use universal pinpointed moral precision. Okay? So you know them by their fruit, their deeds, their works, their actions, their paths, their goals, their motives. Okay? Especially relative to their obstacles. The social orders of every nation on the planet are pure evil. Okay, that's the title. It's interesting. I gave it 2 titles. You know them by their fruit, and the social orders of every nation on the planet are pure evil. 1. Any government that authorizes organized harassment to support their pitiful, childish, and sick sexual control agenda is the extreme enemy of God. This is a key fruit that one cannot ignore. Again, any government that authorizes organized harassment to support their pitiful, childish, and sick sexual control agenda is the extreme enemy of God. This is a key fruit that one cannot ignore. In their Bible, it ends by Babylon's global system, the system of the governments of the world, okay, being cast down with everybody who refused to come out of her. Makes that clear in Revelation 18. So remember, government, meant meaning mind. Why are they trying to govern your mind? For sexual control. That's why they have so many phallic symbols. The sword that the Navy has, the Marines, etc. These are phallic symbols as well. You know, they see it as a symbol of duty to the sexual controllers, okay, of society. Okay, so it's like a sharpened, penis that they're using to, in terms of figuratively speaking, right? They're saying, hey, we control things and you better do what we say. Same with the billy clubs. Same with the lances, right? Lancelot. Okay, same with spears. Okay, it's how it's used, right? It's the divine reproductive cycle of God when in the Royal African Falcon Top Martial Arts Order, when in mere national orders, cultural orders, including Black African ones, um, but obviously I'm a Black African descent, okay, and it's the it's really Royal Black African Falcon Top Martial Arts Order, but it's an order of righteousness that could have included every race, but they're in rebellion, okay, so other people, when they use phallic symbols, it's like a magic wand, right? Hollywood, right? They're Satanists, and they're not serious about serving God and being moral. They're just interested in sexual control, social control, and promoting their cultures and so on and so forth. All right, point number 2. Any government that purposely misrepresents the most important opposition view from an individual or group is pure evil. So obviously, to change my voice, to change the way I'm shaped, etc., that is pure evil. Point number 3. The complicity with neocolonialism that we have seen in the last 40 years with every country in the world is pure evil. We see that over 9 million people starve to death each year, with 3 million of them being children. While fanatically sick scientific racist corporate rapists, especially rape by deception rapists, have directed their social controllers to try to make anyone who would point the finger at them seem crazy. So this is the description of these people, right? They're sick scientific racist corporate rapists, especially rape by deception rapists. And they have directed their social controllers to try to make anyone who would point the finger at them seem crazy. Okay, a scientific racist is somebody who basically twists science. I mean, it's never used by somebody who is telling the truth. Okay, it's like Hitler, right? He's trying to twist it to try to make Germans seem superior. That's what a scientific racist is, right? They're using science. And they use science these days to the extreme. They edit pictures, they change people's shapes, they use substances and materials and drugs of, poisoning and mind control to change the way people look and act and so on and so forth, right? They're basically liars, they're sick fucks. All right. Point number 4. The rejection of my war on poverty plan and my leadership of it makes it clear that they want the poor to suffer so they can pretend that their genes are superior and coerce people, even children. Right? They want people to come scrambling to them like there's a natural disaster or something, and they're desperate and they don't know what to do, and they're looking for guidance. And these guys pretend to be the experts. That's one of their main tricks. They pretend to be the experts on what you should do, whether they know science or how to fly a plane, da 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 da. They pretend to be the experts on what you should do and try to set the stage for you to rely on their expertise in some technical field. Okay, that is a huge, see with the pandemic, we see it time and time again. Let's see here. The rich would still be rich with my plan, and homelessness would be wiped out, except for those who want to be homeless. Obviously, I don't think the rich should be rich, but the plan wouldn't have a chance to be passed if it was just to redistribute the rich's wealth. People aren't with that, and the rich have so much control over them, and their families are in the managerial and poor classes as well, and they have some kind of sick sense of allegiance to them that there's no point in even recommending that. Okay, so people, I use Seinfeld for the example. He would still, he has $950 million or more by now. Has more by now, and he would still be over a billionaire unless he's a complete idiot. I'm saying 30 years from now or so. Okay, so and we would wipe out homelessness. There'd be a massive transformation of the society, but they rejected it because they're sick, not because they're afraid they're going to lose money. Right? What's the difference between 1.1 billion and 1.3? Right? There's not much of a difference. It is a lot of money, but it's you're filthy rich either way. They just want people to be their slaves, and that is sicker than hell. They have a bunch of former, the offspring of slave masters, right? White people, and the token minorities that helped them out, overseers, house minorities, what have you, and they are basically saying if you don't go along with it, that you're a communist. And some people are communists to make it more confusing, and they work for them. Okay. All right. Opportunities would have been created. Now I do not care if it passes, as they just sit there and breed their evil genes everywhere. They have controlled reproduction to a ridiculous degree for so long that it is not important to help the poor. No poor person has chosen to obey God through me. So no poor person has chosen to obey God through me. Instead, they choose to beg the evilest governing class in human history for a mere pittance out of fear. I did not come for the cowardly dogs who are the infrastructure of the lowly dog oppressor. They are allowed to live because to idiots they make being rich seem like the thing to be. And remember, these are people that listen to people who want to put words in my mouth. People who are very likely going to pretend to be me after I'm gone. There's no excuse for that whatsoever, right? If the head of the household has been called Beelzebub, and so has its members as well. They are allowed to live because to idiots they make being rich seem like the thing to be. The only exception is the disabled. Helping them has some importance, but only an idiot sells their soul to help them. It looks like I came to just reward my parents with the knowledge that they bred the most righteous person in history, okay, and to achieve the top martial artist status ever possible in reality, of course, and to seal the world in hell. Remember, when I said if they have been called, right, called by who, what, when, where, how, why, they've been called Beelzebub. Okay, if you've been called Beelzebub by God and the righteous in truth, okay, how much more the members of your household? So if, the global system, America, the West, the whole world, okay, Asia included, African governments included, have been called Babylon's system in truth. How much more those who uphold the system, how much more often are they called that? And for a good reason, but of course people are guilty according to their position in the system and other considerations like that. Okay. 5. The interference with my videos at the most important time in history shows that America is one of the most evil nations ever, if no group is extremely pulling their strings. What kind of animals raise their governing class? I cannot wait to punish them forever at God's right hand in the afterlife. Okay, though it doesn't sound like I'm too angry right now, I'd imagine. That is the truth, and that has to be said. It's not my feelings, it is logic. Okay, that is a much more desirable position to be in than here, at this point struggling. So at some point I'm going to be at God's right hand, punishing them as they come. As they say, every second 2 people die. So every 10 seconds or so, we know that some very wicked people die in this world. Okay, and they're gonna keep coming to me, and I'm gonna keep, torturing them forever as they come. Okay, let's see here. 6. Any government that authorizes people to threaten, of course, everyone outside the divine order is going to hell, right? Any government that authorizes people to threaten and provoke the most righteous man ever is a complete coward's government that is childish and pitiful, that dogs are far, 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 far above. Okay, again, any government that authorizes people to threaten and provoke the most righteous man ever, me, is a complete coward's government that is childish and pitiful, that dogs are far, 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 far above. Is this one nation obeying God? No. Is this a nation that God blesses? No. Okay, these people persecuted God's son, and they use the excuse of a bunch of bootlicking globalists. There's over 300 million people in this country. If they all put their heads together, they could face the rest of the world and hold them off. But they're not going to do that because they're pure evil, and they're like the rest of the world. All right. 7. This government's rape by deception campaign must be unmatched in human history, and other nations are doing something similar. 8. The way the school system is structured is unforgivable, as they pretend the IQ test is a valid intelligence test quite often, and that people are stupid if they do not succeed under the abomination known as the education system. Truly, they should have learned the different ways people learn and should have made it more exciting. The romantic injustice that occurs, as well as the groupie gold digging attitudes, you see, make it so that good guys thrown under the bus were screened out that much more. Okay, this is going to have some typos when I post it on the screen, but that's okay. You should be able to see what I'm saying. If you have to zoom in, I apologize, but they're making it hard for me to do things, and they're making so my eyes hurt at times when I type things. Long story. 9. A spirit can be sensed in a way, and of course I don't have Microsoft Word to check the spelling and so on and so forth. Oh, anyway, just keep going. 9. A spirit can be sensed in a way that is similar to how one detects gravity. People can sense a spirit to a certain degree, but do not fully understand it. They do not understand it fully. People in Western cultures generally acknowledge that a school spirit is real. People come into a sort of LGBT-like spirit, which is full of squares, jocks, and assorted simpleton-like types, within the boundaries of a cheesy and pointless school theme, and call it a school spirit. They also acknowledge that wine spirits are real, okay, and that's a story for another day. What exactly are they, and how it changes the way you act, and how you expect it to change the way you act when it's a certain mixture, and so on and so forth, and how it affects certain kind of common brain function, brain activity, brain types, if you will, genetic expressions in regards to the brain. We hear people say things like the American spirit. There's also a cigarette company called American Spirits. I have found that a spirit has been defined as a vital principle, dominating principle, animating force, a dominant characteristic, a dominant force, a prevailing tendency, a motivating force, essence, quintessence, atmosphere, mood, feeling, temper, tenor, climate, attitudes, beliefs, principles, standard, ethos, etc. It is also defined as the qualities regarded as forming the definitive or typical elements in the character of a person, nation, or group, or in the thoughts and attitudes of a particular period. I'm running out of time, so real quickly, it is like, what is the dominant characteristic? So God, almighty, righteousness, justice. What are the dominant characteristics of me? Might, true love, justice, loyalty to God, okay, righteousness, okay, honesty, okay, and it sticks out to the extreme. So other people are in the spirit of deceit, as they are not obeying God through me, and they are misleading people. They're in the spirit of Satan, the deceiver, the misleader, what have you. Okay. To spirit away is to convey rapidly and secretly, abduct, kidnap, make off with, run away with, whisk away, carry off, steal away with, seize, and abscond. An unavoidable point of the Spirit of God is that it transcends all other spirits and is in the top martial artist naturally. It is not a theater arts game or psychology or technological illusion. God's Spirit cannot be harmed or touched. God's Spirit makes the spirits of those in rebellions less as they rebel, and after I die, the rapid speed in which they become more pathetic will be increased. Less in reality. Okay, whether or not you can see that in them, it's the reality. What can be easily identified in God's Spirit is righteousness, justice, truth, seriousness, the source of the essence of all that is good in nature, and love. When one is outside the global system by walking, okay, point 10. When one is outside the global system, okay, by walking in the way of morally precise and true righteousness along the paths of justice, they are truly intelligent. They are smarter than the people who do not where it matters most by default. Okay, they're smarter where it matters most. Intelligence in regards to why we are here existential, higher logic, true wisdom, knowledge of oneself, intrapersonal, knowledge of others, interpersonal, and knowing how 3D objects relate in nature, spatial, okay, and more are shown by they who obey God through me. People who do not are by default idolaters with false idols, whether they know it or not. 11. Anyone who is not persecuted in the last 50 years is obviously satanic. One must be persecuted for righteousness' sake, and the divine orders be of God. Curses on all the inhabitants of the earth, but my parents and I, for not helping me present my arguments while I am fumed, provoked, and poisoned. The information is time sensitive and it is the most important information in history. The information is time sensitive, and it is the most important information in history.